Hello, Star Wars Hunters fans. I am here today to talk to you about the Wookie. He's a big boy and the first melee hunter that the game gives you. In fact, he's melee only, as this bear thing has no ranged attacks. But you know what he does have? 400 health. He is absolutely the beefiest tank in this game, sitting at 50 HP above Char. I'm gonna go over his kit, which holds some secrets, then move on to the lore afterwards. This way, those of you who are here just for the strategy stuff don't have to do any skipping around. While there are cosmetic options that make them look like other things, one weapon skin turns them into his former Huttball clubs, Grozz's weapons are actually a pair of arms that he liberated, like the English liberated people from Africa, from a KX security droid. Not just any KX droid either, but Chaos, the hunter who became available at the beginning of Season 2. According to an interview with Zaina, he did this at a buffet, so I guess the food really was that bad. Anyway, the clubs are his main weapon and deal 40 damage a hit. They will also slow your enemies down a little bit, making it harder for them to escape as you windmill into them.
If you get hit, it's your own fault.
The reach is very wide, so just get close enough to anybody and you'll be slapping your way to victory in no time. Now, onto his abilities, which the game doesn't give you half of the information for, and I have no idea why. Grozz's first offensive ability is a forward dash, which slams into and grabs an opponent, dealing extra damage if he can pin them against a wall. It will also bump other enemies in the path of the move out of the way and deal 20 damage to them. A couple of things to note here, the first of which is damage. Stampede only does 80 to 90 damage depending on the level, and if you don't get the wall slam, it's actually only 10 to 15, meaning it cannot one-hit KO any character in the game. This move is better at displacement than it is eliminations, so try and grab healers and move them out of the way so that your teammates can take out the remaining players who have been left on their own. The second thing to remember is that the move only lasts for 1 3/4 of a second, so measuring your distance is important. You can upgrade it to 1.83 and then 1.92 seconds as you level him up, but 1/5 of a second is really not that much. The last aspect of this to think about is the fact that you can ready the move by holding the button down, which will show you his trajectory. Along with that, you can cancel the move early by pressing the button again. Getting Grozz all the way up to Hunter level 21 and earning an elimination with Stampede will shave 3 seconds off of your normal 9-second cooldown time for the move. Grozz's second active ability is called Upheaval, and it's a nice way to combo melee attacks, especially when there are more than a few enemies around. Grozz slams his clubs into the ground, which creates a shockwave, hitting enemies in waves and slowing them. The more you level it up, the more damage it does, and the faster the waves move. At max level, it'll even launch the enemies toward him, making follow-up combos even easier. Upheaval is an interesting move, because the game does not really tell you how it works. I'm assuming this is because it wants to not overcrowd the screen with text, but that's just a theory. Like Stampede, Upheaval can be held and readied for a second, so you don't have to just hit the button and hope that you lined it up right the first time. The game will then display a lane on the ground with a blue segment and a red segment. Despite this visual, there are actually 3 segments here, and the red zone just indicates where enemies will take more damage. There's not a lot to say about Upheaval. It's not the strongest move ever, but it can be nice when you want to keep people nearby, or at least just slow them down a little bit. Grozz's final ability is actually defensive, and it's called Warcry. You know how in Dragon Ball they have to yell really loud to become stronger? Well, Grozz has that too, kind of. With Warcry, Grozz lets out a bellowing roar and restores up to 220 health to himself. As of Season 2, this move is actually 35% more defensive than it used to be, because we all know that Grozz just doesn't have enough health. While it begins with a 35% damage reduction, you can actually boost it all the way up to 50% by the time you hit Hunter level 23. Unlike Char, Grozz can still take damage damage while he's glowing green, it's just not going to be that much. Now, this move can be great during battles and in between battles when you're moving to another point, because he can still walk around while it's active, albeit a little bit slower. The main downside to this move is that Grozz cannot attack during it, and that it has a 14-second recharge, which is more than enough time to be violently murdered. The last thing to learn about here is Grozz's ultimate move, Boulder Bash. The Wookiee reaches into the ground and pulls out a giant boulder, much larger than the oversized teddy bear himself. The boulder will then bounce around the arena for a little bit, dealing 150 damage to anyone and anything it hits, and stunning any hunters in its path. That's kind of it. There's not a lot of nuance or special information that you need to know about Boulder Bash. It's just kind of a rock.
I got a rock.
One thing I've learned is that both teams can still shoot projectiles through the boulder. I've gotten a number of stun shots off as Sentinel doing this, but your best bet when this move activates is just to be somewhere else. Okay, now that I've got the full description of his kit out of the way, let's talk about strategy. As Grozz, you are the biggest character on screen at any point during the game, so sneaking around is not really in your wheelhouse. This might seem a little unintuitive, but Grozz actually does best when he rushes directly into fights and lines up one or two enemies at a time. Use Stampede to get into the fight, follow up with Upheaval, and then just make sure that you've got two enemies on screen and nearby the whole time so you can line up those club hits. And I'm not just talking about a Mystery Skulls song. Once things seem dangerous, refill your health with Warcry, and go right back to slapping. Grozz can be one of the easiest characters to learn, and at higher levels, especially with a healer nearby, fighting against him can feel like shooting Nerf bullets into a pile of bricks. When playing against him, I have just about 5 tips. Number 1, his head, like the rest of him, is quite large. If you are playing a ranged hunter, it will be very easy to get those critical hits, which is exactly what you want to go for, especially during Warcry, as the body shots will otherwise be practically useless. Number 2, speaking of ranged hunters, Sentinel's stun shot is perfect to use against Grozz, as not only will it stop him in the middle of a stampede, it will give you a huge target as his supine body just lays on the floor. Number 3, if you are playing a melee hunter, you are at a severe disadvantage. But you can still overwhelm Grozz by walking around him in a circle, getting in little hits here and there when he can't see you. Keep the movement going, and coordinate with another hunter to inflict damage while he's focused on you, and you'll have him down in no time. Number 4, lightsaber wielders can block his club hits, but unlike blaster bolts, the damage cannot be redirected. The clubs will also take out large chunks of your blocking stamina, so don't try to rely on this move for too long. Number 5, Slingshot can be a very good counter against Grozz, as the shield will explode and deal damage to the Wookiee as soon as he takes it out. The Scatterboom rockets and Trickshot maneuver are also very good for getting up close and personal and overwhelming him. That's about all I've got for strategy. I would like to postface this video by saying that I am not good at Grozz, as melee is not really my thing, and I can often get disoriented if I get too close to people. That being said, I am a strong proponent of the idea that you do not need to be good with a character to understand how they work. Okay, lore time! Yay! We don't actually know a lot about Grozz, as his interviews don't really contain that much information. See, Grozz is a Wookiee, and much like the noble Sasquatch, he don't speak no English. I'm sorry, Galactic Basic. Whatever it's called, they don't speak it. So it can be really hard to get a lot of information from a guy whose entire interviews consist of descriptions of facial expressions and arm movements. What we do know is that he and Zaina are old friends, likely because she helped the Resistance liberate Kashyyyk. We also know that he and Sentinel are rivals of sorts, because oops, the Empire committed war crimes against him and his planet. What are you gonna do? We also know that he and Zaina once worked together to give a gift to Aron Tal as a new hunter, which was a little plushie of Aron himself. Get ready for reason number 423 to dislike Aron Tal, though, because he skipped the reading part and went right to the burning after. Yeah, that's a little 2008 joke right there. But seriously, he did light it on fire immediately because he is a douchebag. In the past, Grozz was a professional hut baller. This is where Zaina first learned of him, and she followed his career there until they met in the arena and became friends. He also met and befriended Imara, Vex, and Reeve around the same time. He and Reeve would even play hutball scrimmages after some of their matches. The lore also mentions that he went crowd surfing at a gonk rock concert, which sounds incredibly painful for the audience. One super duper important piece of lore states that Grozz is big, even for a Wookiee. Cool. Also, he's the only character to get his own mode so far, called Boulder Bash, named after the special. It involves all 8 players in a team deathmatch playing only as Grozz, and only being able to use his clubs and his ultimate, which would charge almost instantly. It's great, and I hope it comes back. And I also hope that every other character gets a mode like this, because it's just fun and silly. That just about wraps it up for me today. I'm gonna be honest with you, when I started writing this script, it just said, I don't know what I'm doing across the top of it, but I hope you couldn't tell. Please let me know what you thought of this video down in the comments or just somewhere on the internet. And remember to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any more videos like this, and slap that like button around a little bit just to show it who's boss. See you later!